what is our metabolism and why is it important for us? So basically your metabolism is your energy generation system, right? Everything our body does requires energy. Our heart to beat, our lungs to breathe, our brain to function. All of our bodily processes require energy through calories, and the amount of energy that is released from the food that we eat depends on the types of food that we eat and how we're absorbing our food. So the quality of the food that we're having does matter in terms of how your metabolism works to digest and absorb these types of foods. So when it comes to carbohydrates, the complexity of the carbohydrates takes more work for your body to have to metabolize and break this food down. So this is going to increase our metabolism. It is about less than 10% of our metabolism uses energy for food digestion. The thermic effect of food is what this is technically called. So it's not a lot of energy that our body is using from everything else, our total daily energy expenditure. It's about less than 10% to digest our food. So when it comes to carbohydrates, I asked you guys this question earlier, I think it was last week, how many types of carbs are there? Overarching, complex carbs and simple carbs, right? So I love what Lisa said in this comment, nutritious carbs and delicious carbs. And both of these can fit into your day and your diet all the time. Just coming from a place of like, okay, what is realistic? Like if we're just eating the simple carbs all the time, we're not going to feel as good, right? We're just going to feel sluggish and tired because we get that crash. So we just want to have this nice balance between both of these things. So complex carbs are going to be slower acting, meaning they raise blood sugar slowly and they last longer because they have fiber, they have nutrients, and this helps to keep us from feeling hungry sooner and keep our blood sugar levels more stable. Simple acting carbs like candies, cookies, juice, soda, these types of carbs are going to raise our blood sugars very quickly, but then it doesn't last very long. So we get those crashes in our blood sugar, and this is when we typically are tired or irritable or we don't feel as good, and it's that roller coaster ride of our blood sugars that we want to avoid. We want to keep more of that middle ground for our blood sugar levels. So carbs then encompass 3 parts. So if you look at a nutrition label, it says total carbohydrates, and then it's broken down into starches, sugar, and fiber. So then there's 3 other components there from our total carbohydrates to look at. Carbohydrate foods are going to include our fruits, vegetables, beans. Dairy is also a carbohydrate food, grains. So simple sugars are going to be broken down into glucose and fructose. They're quickly digested and they move into our bloodstream for our cells to absorb and use for energy. And starches are going to be found in foods such as vegetables, grains, beans. These are all broken down into sugar, into glucose eventually. But these complex carbs are going to require more energy for our body to start breaking down, and then we absorb that into our bloodstream. So then we come to fiber. Fiber is the non-digestible part of plant foods, and our body does not absorb fiber. So we're using the starches in that food as the energy source, and the fiber just slows that digestive process down. So there's no energy payout essentially from fiber in our foods, right? It's not being used as energy. It moves through our digestive tract. So when we eat a variety of foods at meals, this is going to be what is really going to help us keep our energy and our blood sugars more stable. So the foods that we eat have to be broken down for our bodies to digest and absorb it. The more fiber, the more structure that the food has, the more our metabolism has to work to access that energy, to break down the food, to get those nutrients and the sugar that our body needs to create this energy from. So for example, to access the energy in a banana, your body has to first break down the fibroids, the fiber in the food, from the structure of that fruit, And then it also brings a lot of minerals and vitamins to the table versus if you're just gonna have like a lollipop that's very quickly digested, but there's not a lot of other nutrients to bring to the table. So I like to use an approach of 80-20. 80% of the time, having more of these complex, nutrient-dense, high fiber, complex carbs in your diet, and 20% of the time having these delicious, nutritious forms of carbs at your meals or a snack. So for example, baking cookies all this year, right? This month is a great time that we're doing more of this stuff. So, okay, if you're having cookies, a couple of cookies during the day, just make sure at your meal before that, you're really focusing on prioritizing protein and some vegetables, some color from fiber. And then you could absolutely include these cookies into your day because you're balancing that out. So if you're prioritizing building your meals effectively, you can fit cookies in and feel good and feel satisfied. Whenever you are baking, it is best to make sure that you're having something to eat if you're having like a meal before you're having that. So that way you're not looking for actual energy, right? You're actually hungry, and it's way easier to overeat the cookies or whenever we're baking because it's there, it's available, it's highly palatable, it's delicious. So make sure that you're having a balanced meal before you start diving into that, and that's just gonna help you feel better. So those are my tips for you about metabolism and carbohydrates. I truly believe you can have both of the nutritious and the delicious forms of these foods, and however that works for you. So if you have more questions about this, let me know. I just did a post today talking a little bit more about if you feel like you are addicted to sugar. I hear this so often from women saying, I'm out of control with the sweets and the treats and I can't stop eating sugar. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just how you're balancing your meals throughout the day is typically off. So usually what I see is under eating or not eating enough of the right nutrients at your meals during the day, which is why you are feeling like this later in the day. There's a lot of other variables involved with this, but this is one of the main things that you can start paying to attention now. So